Hi there.
Hey, Jamie Lynn, how's it going?
Well, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm just gonna try to rename myself.
Okie dokie.
How's Seattle doing today?
It's pretty dreary, but it's all right.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to the Mayflowers.
Yes, I was thinking I might have people put their favorite spring thing in the chat when we come in.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one.
Don't you think? Something like that.
Yeah. Oh, my phone's ringing.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
One small change. I'm going to be the one to present our slides from. I don't know if you have
Oh,
the host privilege.
great. Because I had that would be wonderful because I noticed that when I went to click on them in the agenda, I needed permission, but it would be wonderful, Jamie Lynn, if you would do that.
Yeah, that's the call I just got. So.
Oh, okay. And I didn't know whether we wanted to have them up from the very get-go. I was actually going to show but because I haven't seen them, is there an agenda on it, for instance? Because at one point I would love to share my screen to show a photograph at the beginning, but if that would be problematic to try to toggle between the two, the deck and that, let me know.
I don't think so. As long as we're either both co-hosts or you refer the co-hosting ability over to me.
Oh yeah, that's true. I should make you co-host.
Yeah,
I'm going to let people in here now.
Okay.
Let me
There is an agenda,
co-host.
by the way, but you can just toggle.
Oh, I know there's. I'm sorry. I know there's an agenda. Is there an agenda in the slide? You mean?
Yes.
Oh, there is. Okay, great. All right. Well, can you pull up the slide deck right now, just before I let people in, and so I can take a quick look as to whether we should have the slide up or whether we should just have people.
Yes. Hold on. Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
Oh, great. Oh, you're awesome. Okay, community meeting is up there. The agenda is fieldwork to date. Okay. What do you think? Do you think I should do my intro before we pull up the slide deck?
Sure. That's fine.
Okay, let's do that. That way people can see each other.
Okay. Got it.
All right. I'm going to let everybody in and have people put stuff in the thing. And I'm going to take off the... Hi, welcome everybody. Nice to see everybody tonight. Hello. Hi, Tara. Hey, Jordan. Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, Greg, Alice. Hey, Maggie, how are you? Oh, and there's Deborah. Hi, Deborah. We're going to get started here in just a moment. My name is Anita Verna Crops. I teach at the University of Washington in the Department of Communication. Back in 2020, I was part of Team Maine, and I now have the distinct pleasure and privilege to work with Common Power in a consultancy role around leadership and professional development. And we're very glad to have everybody here. And as we start, I'll have a couple words in a moment, but Jamie Lynn and I were talking about spring and how much we are enjoying this season of renewal. And so if you want to drop into chat from wherever you are in the world right now, couple of the things you enjoy about spring, would love to see that. So the chat is open. I just took a long walk. I'm actually here in the state of Maine right now. I split my time between Portland, Maine and Seattle, Washington, as some of you know. And we're about a month and a half behind Seattle in some ways in terms of spring. So I talk about having two springs. I have my spring in Seattle between January and March, and then I come out here and I get all the daffodils again, and I get all the blooms again, and I get all the experience of seeing the earth anew. And I don't mind having spring twice, and I especially don't mind having spring twice this year because we need to be as hardy and as resilient as everything that is blooming right now. And we'll talk about that. So thank you for being here. It's great to have everybody. It's been a hard week. It's been a very hard week. I have a cousin. He is a year older than I am. And when anything is happening politically, I know it in ahead of time because Jamie calls me on the phone. And I'm an early to bed person. I went to sleep on Monday and I woke up and I had 2 missed calls from Jamie in the evening. And I thought, oh no, what's happened? And of course, I opened up my computer. I didn't have to call my cousin back. It was pretty obvious. As soon as I had hit into the slipstream, the leaked memo from the Supreme Court. And I had a moment where I remembered back to being a freshman in college. I was a freshman in the spring of 1989. And I took a bus down from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. There was a major, major march on Washington, D.C. Maybe some of you were even there, about protecting Roe v. Wade. And later on Tuesday, I talked to my cousin. He was down in Boston where he lives. He was at a protest, and he sent a number of photographs from that protest out to the whole family after had participated. And the one that I want to show today really stopped me in my tracks because the sign was exactly the same sign that we had carried in 1989. Same font, it's now, and I couldn't, in some ways I couldn't believe that here we were coming back full circle. But I want to share where my brain went after that, because I have always believed that I was so lucky to have been born when I was born. I'm a Title IX baby, and I grew up in a period of history in this country where everything was available to me. My college celebrated coeducation, the 10th anniversary when I was a junior. I got a research fellowship that I was so excited about, and I went and I told my professor, and she looked at me rather wistfully and she said, oh, I wanted to apply for that. It wasn't available to men when I was in college. And I was aghast. And she said, Anita, do you know what we had to do? At dinners in college, the men came in and sat down, and then the women came in. I'm sorry, the women came in and sat down, and then the men got to come in and decide where they wanted to sit. And this was recent in her memory. And I remember in 1989 that there were elders in my life that felt that we were carrying on the fight. And you read Dr. Terry Scott's incredible invitation to tonight. Everything that she said is so true. We cannot allow ourselves to exist in a period of fear and looking in a rearview mirror about what was. We are moving forward. We are doing it together. There were women 20 years my senior in 1989 who did not like the fact that we were busing down to Washington, D.C. to protest. And I know that I don't like the fact that that's the same sign that I was using in 1989, and it's the year of our Lord, 2022, and it feels so fragile and it feels so vulnerable. But this is why Common Power is a balm for all of us, because it's not just a place that we go to be in community, as Charles and so many of us who are affiliated with the CP, whether we are volunteers, whether we're people that are new to the organization tonight or have been with Common Power for many, many years. It is a place where we organize and we say, no, that is not the world we want to live in. And where there is a different path, and we are going to fight for it. And we're going to fight for it locally in the service of national transformation. And so we're so glad that you're all here tonight. And I want you to know that that arc of my experience was such that I am not going to allow this country to roll back. I am not. I have lived a life of opportunity, incredible opportunity, and I want all that opportunity to be available to every single person in this country, regardless of race, class, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity. This is the world that I want to live in, and I'm so glad that you're all here. And we do this through Fieldwork, and for that reason, we're going to start tonight with Fieldwork. We've got people in Arizona already. We're going to be hearing from North Carolina and South Carolina. But Jamie Lynn, if you could bring up the slides for our path tonight, I want to move into this meeting together with a sense of both urgency, but a sense of positivity that in the face of this terrible, terrible sense of fragility and this disastrous effect that this would have on the lives of so many, especially the most marginalized, that we're not going to succumb to that emotion. And instead, we're going to take that and move forward into a place of incredible potential, because we've done it before and we're going to do it again. So thank you for these slides, Jamie Lynn. Let's take a look at where the agenda kicks us off, pick us up. Yep, Fieldwork to date, that's where we're going to go. We've got some excellent reflections from North Carolina and South Carolina. I can't wait for that. There are upcoming opportunities you'll hear about. And then I mentioned Dr. Terry Scott at the beginning and her incredible words that she shared via newsletter on Tuesday. Maybe it was Wednesday. We're going to get a chance to hear from Dr. Scott about the Institute for Common Power launch coming up at the beginning of June. So again, thanks so much for being here. I'm now going to take a look at the chat and revel in spring. And Maggie, I think it's over to you for the fieldwork to date. Am I right?
That's right. Thank you for those words. I really appreciate it. Jamie, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so I wanted to give you all just a quick update about what we've been doing in 2022. There have been primaries, there's a lot going on, and I wanted to recap what the Fieldwork team led by Jamie Lynn. I'm jumping in here just as an interim to talk about what we did pre her coming here. So travel this spring has looked like Team Wisconsin was out in the field. I think you've probably seen some recaps from them. Team North Carolina and South Carolina, you're going to hear from tonight, just were out in April. And Team Arizona is in the field today. They've been there since Monday. I hear it is extremely hot, but that they're knocking doors, making a really big impact and bringing really some hope to the people on the ground, because it's been a really tough week to be out there and doing this work. So I'm hoping Charles will share a little bit about that too. Team Texas is headed out May 19th to the 22nd, actually, and some people are extending to the 25th. So we registered over 100 voters, knocked on almost 2,200 doors. I expect that to go up as we get some data back from South Carolina and North Carolina. And then we've also been doing stuff virtually. As you all know, that was the big focus in 2020 during the pandemic. So we've been making calls, 7,300 calls so far, 7,300, yeah, 31,000 texts, 600 postcards. The numbers are important, but also I think it's really important to remember that there's a voter on the end of every one of these calls, and having those conversations, those meaningful conversations, and kind of keeping people engaged, which is hard right now, is really part of this work. And we're really excited to be doing it. And no, we recognize that it's hard to kind of get back into this. So we're hopeful that some of these stories can kind of reinvigorate you to remember what it's like to do this work in community. And what we can going into 2022, the midterms, what we can do. So that's a little bit of recap. And then I think I'm going to hand it over to Kylie to lead some information about what happened over in North Carolina and South Carolina.
Thanks, Maggie. Hi, everyone. So great to be here with you tonight. Hi, Deborah. Hi. I am so excited to be leading this section, little reflections from the field. If it's okay, Jamie, we'll go to South Carolina first, because we are really lucky to have some leadership from the Charleston Democratic Party joining us tonight. Greg Perry, chair, and Brandy Matherly, who is, oh, Deborah, you're wearing your shirt, I love it, who is the executive director. And so I'd love to give them the floor, just a few minutes sharing. We're brand new partnership, but I'm so excited, and it feels like family. So I'm really excited to have them here. So everyone give them a big round of applause. Welcome. Yay.
So am I coming off mute now?
Yes, Greg, thank you.
Thank you, Kylie. Listen, from just the beginning of this call, you all are amazing. I feel up and down this participant list, just so much energy. I want to say Common Power brought so much energy to South Carolina when they came here. I did not want to let them leave. Absolutely an amazing, incredible group of just energetic individuals. We could not stop them from working. So if this is what Common Power is, I absolutely want to be a part of this just as long as you guys allow us to. I appreciate Kylie and Charles, the entire group, for just coming out and just, I feel like when they left, we left and we were family. So incredible to just see them knock on doors and just come do postcards and help out candidates in this state. I know we live in South Carolina, and South Carolina is considered a red state. I like to tell individuals we're just a non-voting state. But when we get individuals like Common Power to come and to assist us, it really just helps us increase this Democratic majority. I've told my executive committee, newly elected executive committee just recently, that this year would not be a year of sweatless victory. But if we're going to win up and down the ballot, we're going to need time, we're going to need talent, and we're going to need the treasure of individuals like yourselves in all over this state and all over this country. I think that if we do this, if we put forth the effort, if we knock on doors, if we have those necessary conversations, if we just go out and we commit ourselves to working hard, that we'll win. Again, we won't have any sweatless victories, but if we have partnerships like this, like Common Power and other groups, we will win up and down the ballot throughout this state. We have a big governor's race this year. We have a individual we're trying to send to the U.S. Senate, and if we can do what we do in Charleston, and that goes throughout this state, again, I think we can get them in office. So thank you guys so much for all that you're doing. Thank you for all that you're continuing to do, and we appreciate your support. And we're looking forward to having Common Power back in South Carolina.
Yay, thank you so much, Greg. Really appreciate all your kind words. And it was amazing. It was such a great experience. Awesome. Cool. Well,
real quick, I'm sorry.
yeah.
And real quick, I also want to say, outside of just knocking on doors, we have some really great seafood here, guys. Just want to put that out there. Really great seafood.
Good plug. We had some, but Brandy doesn't eat seafood, so just everyone's aware of that. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Greg. Thank you again for sharing. And I'd love to turn it over to the amazing state team leads, Deborah and Asha, who led on the ground, and hear from them.
Great. I'm not sure our graduate is here. Is Asha here with us?
I'm here finishing my last final, but
Oh,
I'll
God.
be here for a couple minutes.
Why don't you go first then? I'm so admiring of you coming to all these meetings this week, and you're graduating in 3 days.
I know, I can hardly believe it. I just wanted to say really quick, it was so amazing, really like meeting a partner org for the first time, and I mean, we met with two. We have Jenny and Greg and Brandy, and they're all amazing. And it was a great first time for me. It's been a minute since I've traveled, so I thought the experience was overall so amazing. And I really thought one of the best things was that I got to go with Betty and Kylie, Deborah, Karen, Christine. Like, I don't know. It's been a while since I've been able to really like interact with CP like on a multi-generational level. I feel like in person, and really have that community and have that chance. So I don't know. I like for those of you who don't know, like Deborah said, I'm graduating soon, and then I'm coming back to Seattle, and I feel like going on the trip a week before my finals week got me very excited to just get back into like full force into the CP community, and keep traveling. Like I feel like it was a good introduction back into this work. So thank you guys so much for the opportunity, and I'll let Deborah keep going. Also, yes, the seafood is amazing. I really wanted to eat it for like every meal, and I feel like next time people need to stop me because I probably ate too much seafood, if that's even possible. I don't know if that is.
Well,
Thank you,
then,
Asha. Thanks for
whoops,
being here.
and after the seafood, we ended our last meal, North Carolina and Texas, with incredible barbecue. Oh my God, we can't wait for you to join us and eat it with us. I um I love being on this trip. Kylie asked me to talk about what it was like having gone on other trips to be the with Asha, the leader of this group, and it felt great. But it felt like the same was when I was with everybody in Wisconsin and in Virginia. Everybody pitches in, and I had such good role models in looking and being with the team, especially Ben when she was doing it alone in Wisconsin, and then people came through the other days. But it's great because we work in community. We also support each other in community. And so I never felt like I had any burden having the experiences in the other states, and then the love of everybody that was with us. So that was fabulous. I think Greg has done such a great job of selling South Carolina, and but we are also enthusiastic about the relationship. Brandy, who is on tonight also, and she's the vice chair, the vice chair of the Charleston Democrats. She was cynical, and so was the other candidate we were working for, Rajan, his campaign manager. Like, what are these people? Are they really going to show up? Are they really going to pay for the postcards? Like, how is this all going to work? And I think we obviously we delivered very well, and there's a rumor they want to come here and visit us all because to keep that relationship going. But we had a great team. I don't know if you noticed in the photos, but Christine Wells was also in North Carolina, and then she drove to South Carolina. Charles, of course, was in both places also, but it really led to some good talking that Charles and I have started about how do we do more of that with teams sharing, and once you're on the road, traveling across state lines and helping each other with a day of rest or so. I just loved it. I love being the team lead. I think Paul's here also tonight. I don't know if Frost is, but we're really excited about keeping this work going. And even if you're on another team, you'd be so silly to not go to South Carolina the next few times we go because it's so beautiful. And lots of sweat, Greg. Promise lots of sweat with all that weather.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Asha, again, and Deborah for sharing, two of our stellar state team leads and leading this trip. So thank you again for all the work you put in. And I did just want to touch on, Asha mentioned we do have another partner we worked with while we were on the ground that weekend, and it's the Rajan Lewis campaign, which is a special election. Yeah, Deborah's got the postcards up. And we just had a postcarding party just this past Sunday, which Deborah so graciously hosted at her home. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Nancy Norman, who is a new CTer who joined us at that postcarding party. And so that was a really great way to, even if you aren't able to travel, another way to get in person while we're here in Seattle, or we are in Seattle. Awesome. Okay, well, I would love to go back a slide now, Jamie. Thank you so much, and hand it over to Team North Carolina. We have Jordan and Jessica representing tonight to share a little bit about their experiences on the ground.
Thanks, Kylie. Jessica, you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, all right. It's really nice to be here tonight. Great to see some Team North Carolina members, also friends from other teams and new friends that I haven't even met yet. But yeah, we just got back from a really great trip to North Carolina. We were 3 days in Charlotte, working for our longtime partner there, You Can Vote, which is all the wonderful orange t-shirts. And then we moved over to Durham and spent 2 days working on behalf of a candidate running for the US House, Nida Alam. And I think I actually want to focus talking a little bit about working for Nida because that was something new for Common Power. It was us working for a candidate who is in a primary, and actually a primary in a relatively safe Democratic seat. And so a lot of folks might be wondering, well, like, why are we working for a candidate in a safe Democratic seat in the primary? And the answer is, I think, we've seen, particularly over the last couple of years since Joe Biden was elected, we know it's not enough just to have Democrats in office, and that we really need to support getting progressive Democrats in office. We can't have folks like Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema holding up progress and blocking agendas at every move. And so this was a really amazing opportunity. Nida Alam, I'm going to put her campaign page in the chat here so folks can check her out. She is already the first Muslim woman elected to public office in North Carolina. She serves on the Durham County Commission. And if she is elected to the House, she'll be the first Muslim woman from the American South elected to Congress. Super inspiring, got brilliant vision in terms of advancing like a higher minimum wage, supporting the Green New Deal, supporting Medicare for all, and just would love to see her get elected. And the benefit of working for some of these really progressive candidates in a primary is that I can honestly say it was the most enjoyable door knocking experience I have ever had. People were so friendly. It was all talking to folks who are already Democratic voters and just convincing them to vote for this candidate in the primary. We had so many great conversations. People were really, really supportive of the message, eager to learn more about the candidate. And so in future opportunities, when we travel to work on behalf of candidates in the primary, I really encourage folks to join. And I think just one quick story about the, tying into the news from the Supreme Court this week. So Nida announced the day before we got there that she is pregnant. And she has also been very public about having had an abortion earlier because of a really complicated pregnancy that she had. And, I was really admiring of her to share this news about her pregnancy. And like, obviously it's really challenging to run for office under any circumstances, but running while pregnant, I can't even imagine how challenging that must be. And one of the most interesting conversations that I had at a door was with a woman who said that she was absolutely going to support Nida before she found out she was pregnant. And now that's actually giving her pause. And this was a woman who, identified as a progressive, actually works at the State House as a lobbyist. And there were a number of complicated reasons for why it was giving her pause. But it just really struck me how unequal the playing field is still in this country for women and female identified folks running for public office, and how important it is that we get strong women into office who can show what it is to still be a working mother, still be able to serve, and who can really set an example for everybody. So yeah, it was a great experience working for NIDA. It was so wonderful to be on the road again. And the first time I've gotten to travel with a group since before the pandemic. Was a little bit nervous at first, but CP's COVID protocols made it feel super comfortable and safe. And yeah, it was just an all around great experience. And we're really excited to go back to North Carolina in the fall. I'll turn it over to Jessica.
Yeah, so for me, traveling to North Carolina was like a lot of firsts. My first CP trip, my first time in the South, and like my first time meeting anyone in person, including like my own team leads. So I didn't really have a lot of expectations, but I feel like I had a lot to prove as a new lead, organizing travel for people who've done this work for years, who've gone to North Carolina before when I've never even registered a voter before. So getting on the ground and meeting our partners was like such a huge relief. Like we made it, if anything, we're in North Carolina. But then finally doing the work and getting direct interactions with people like really reignited my passion, because I feel like I often lose sight of like why I even care. There's so much going on in the world, and like it's so hard to like take care of the world when I'm just trying to take care of myself. So I really got like a full volunteer experience, like tabling, chasing people down with clipboards and going door to door. I did like everything during my first time. But then like I think one of my favorite memories, everyone's out here getting like 5, 10, 15 registrations a shift. And I'm still just like in the corner on the high of like my first registration. Now I'm back in Seattle. I still remember the name of my first like person I registered. I have a picture with him. So one of my biggest takeaways from this trip is just to be like seeing everyone be so like unapologetic about this work and like finding that confidence myself through everyone's patience. It was never like, here's a script, go to that door. It was like, hey, do you want to come with me and like watch until you're ready? We probably like did that like for a whole block. Charlie was with me like at my first door. So I really just like fell in love with the work itself and the community, all the little check-ins, like, how are you feeling? Or we're picking up food. Do you want anything? So for anyone like considering travel, I feel like just go, because there's only so much prep you can do, but you just like figure it out on the ground and like trust that you'll be taken care of. So add a lot of first, but like they won't be last, because like I love the work I get to do and the people I get to do it with. So I hope to meet like everyone else in Texas and everywhere. Like I want to go on so many more trips until like everyone's tired of seeing me everywhere.
Yay. Thank you so much, Jordan and Jessica, both of you for sharing your experiences. I can't wait till I get to travel with you both. Jordan for a second time, but Jessica for a first time. Just so wonderful, and yay. Well, that pretty much concludes our reflections from the field. I would, of course, if there's anyone who is a volunteer and traveled with the team, would welcome, if you want to come off mute and share. We'll just give a pause for that, but if not, that's totally fine. And just so wonderful and glad to hear from some partners tonight and from our wonderful state team leads. Yay.
Kylie, I'm just going to mention that we're going to be having 500 more postcards for the South Carolina Democrats that are sitting and waiting for us to schedule a meeting. So, so we'll have another party at my house and do lots of fun things.
Love that. Yes. Plug for the postcards. Cool. Well, thank you all again. And yay, I'm so glad I got to hear about everyone's experiences too. So I think that now I'm going to pass it back to Maggie. Okay, cool.
Jamie, if you could go forward. Yeah. Okay. So just give a little plug. I think a lot of you know this, but for those that are maybe new to Common Power, the biggest way to get engaged is to join a state team. We work in teams. We do it for a reason. As you can hear, it's all about community, and it's the way to kind of stay committed, because it's pretty hard to do this work on your own, if not impossible. So the way to join a team is you join commonpower.io. We'll put the link in here. It's our private online community. It's like kind of like a private Facebook without all the Facebook bad stuff. And you pretty much are just getting on people on a state team's email list. So you can do everything out of your email if you'd like, but also you can go on the app or the website to kind of engage more deeply if you want. And we have trainings and we have all kinds of stuff to help you with that. But really the first step is sign up for a team. To give you an idea of some of the things that are happening, travel is already kind of all baked for the spring. And so we're now thinking, so there's kind of no way to jump on a trip quite yet left for the spring. So we'll have much more obviously in the fall, but there's tons of virtual opportunities. So I just want to give you kind of a preview of the things that are already scheduled. So Georgia is doing two things. They're doing phone banks for Lucy McBath. They're doing text banks for Fair Count. North Carolina has a You Can Vote virtual empowerment workshop, which I think sounds pretty exciting, given that's a strong partner in learning how to register folks. Texas is doing Harris County Dem phone banks, and Wisconsin is doing what's called Save the Senate phone banks. And obviously Deborah is doing postcards. I didn't have that on here, so we'll add some of that more detail. So these are some opportunities if you're ready just to go join one of these teams, or you can find them on our events page if you want to try it out before joining a team. But then the biggest plug I want to make, which I'm really excited about, is we have a training coming up. It's on May 31st, so it's a bit away, but you can mark your calendar. It's Tuesday after Memorial Day, and it's a training called You and the 34%, and it's going to be given by a few trainers that have been doing this training for about 2 years. They're associated with Swing Left, and it's focused on the 34% of voters who did not vote. And they come with it with a lens. It's called motivational interviewing. It's somewhat akin to deep canvassing, but the idea is, how do you have more meaningful conversations, which is our goal, with voters? And this training is getting rave reviews. Several people from Wisconsin, Team Wisconsin, went to it and said it was one of the best trainings they've ever been to. It actually made them excited to think about phone banking, and it made them kind of get over the hump. They were worried about actually getting back on the phones or ever getting on the phones, because we know phone banking can be intimidating for people. So we'd really love for you to mark calendars. Again, I'll put the sign up for this in the chat in just a minute. to come to this training. You and the 34%, they're doing it exclusively for Common Power. So we're trying to get a lot of people there, and we'll be asking more people to come in. So we'd love for you to come to that, as well as invite any of your friends or family who, even if you've never done calling or canvassing, this is still the training for you. But even if you've done it many times, I think this also could be valuable. So those are some quick ways to get engaged. And let me put in the chat if I can find it. I think I pasted these in. Yeah, so if you want to join a team, there's a link to the links to each of the teams, and then for registration for the training is right there too. Does anybody have questions about any of this? Pause.
What is the best, what's upcoming as far as primaries and elections in these states that we're working with, and what's the closest or most important race that we should be talking about getting involved in?
That's a good question. So there's primaries in almost all of these states, and I don't have it on, sorry, it's in a different document about exactly when. So Texas is about to go into primaries. That's why we've timed travel right before primaries. I was gonna say, is Charles on the call to speak a little bit to where you think the most important places are? I mean, we obviously think these 7 states are critically important, and we've targeted where we are based on those primaries. But I don't know, Charles, you want to offer anything about kind of priorities?
Hey, yes. We need you everywhere. Can you go to all the states? Who asked that question? So I'm going to put a plug in for Team Texas because it's a great team lead set there. And they've also, it's really interesting because Team Texas has, they skew with more young people. So to the extent that you're looking to work with across generations, it's a great set of folks to lead you through. They kind of embody the spirit of CP right there in that team. Yes, Nancy says they're super fun. Yes, they're super fun. So I'd say plug in with Team Texas. They're also pretty well versed in Common Power overall. Lots of folks from Action Academy, super knowledgeable about what's going on the ground in Texas. And Texas is actually kind of a newish state for us in terms of getting in there deep. There are many small states within Texas. And so if you're looking to join an effort that is going to have a lot of remote opportunities, in-person opportunities, they're going to stay active for a long time. I'm putting a plug in there for Team Texas because I've been plugging Team Wisconsin too much.
Thank you.
Yes.
But we need you too.
I knew Carrie was going to pop up.
Of course.
Indeed. Well done. Well done.
We all need you.
Hey, I think the next section is actually over to Dr. Terry Scott to talk about the Institute launch.
Is Terry here? I was looking in the participants list, and unmute yourself. I was wondering. I did not see Dr. Scott listed, but maybe we're actually ahead of schedule, which is amazing. Maybe she was going to slide right in before. Charles, would you like to talk a bit about Arizona?
I can.
Or you can, or do you want to try to see? You want to try to reach out to Dr. Scott and see if she's going to join?
I can do that, and I also think a lot of folks have had their hands on the launch of the Institute. I wonder if Maggie, if you can speak to some of this, maybe I can speak to some of it too. If Julia's here or David, but let me see if I can get a hold of Terry real quick. Is that okay?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Cool.
Yeah, I think David's on actually an airplane. So I hope that Terry's getting all of her calendars up to date. So I'm wondering if we just had a miss on the calendar. So anyway, I can speak a little bit to the Institute and Charles can come back on. So I think a lot of you probably know that the Institute for Common Power is launching in June. So it's going to be house all of the education. So we've obviously been doing a lot of education all the way up until now, and that will not change. But with Dr. Scott coming on, combining forces with AJ and with David, we're going to have kind of a powerhouse of educational opportunities that really are focused on what they're calling movement learning. We're learning from the past, getting moved by what was happening in the past and moving forward. And there's some more information that'll come out about that. But the big weekend for the launch is June 3rd and June 4th. And with something later in June too. On Friday, June 3rd, there's going to be an event. It's called Athletes and Activism, and it's a really amazing roster of people. I'm wondering, Kylie, if you could find the link to the Eventbrite for these, if you don't mind. Thank you. Pop those into the chat. So there's going to be several people who are former professional athletes, people who are managers of different programs or institutions, and talking about kind of what is the role of athletics and activism and how they combine, and what can we go from here. So it's what we're calling a CP conversation, which will be kind of a good showcase of what the Institute is going to bring, some new things, because this is one of Dr. Scott's area of study. Charles, do you want me to keep going? Or
I just talked to her. She is in between calendars, like you said. She's got three calendars she's managing right now: her personal Gmail, her Hood College calendar, and her CP calendar. So she's I was like, hey, we're a little ahead of schedule. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm coming. So she'll be here in a second.
Okay, I think you want to talk about Arizona then?
Well, I do, but I know you talked about the heroes that are coming on the 4th. I just want to say that Miss Joanne Bland, who was there on Bloody Sunday with John Lewis and marched across the Edmund Pettus with him and was beaten when she was 11 years old. She was 11 years old. She'll be here that day. And she has called me every other day while I've been in Arizona to talk about this event coming to Seattle, to talk about when the next time is, and we're going to come out to Selma to ask about my opinion on folding chairs for her tour group, okay, in her new space that we helped her to procure, where she's going to host the students that come through. She hosts tour buses and teaches about Selma all year round. And she's a part of our community. And I don't think we formally announced this before. It's been kind of caught up in the Institute launch and our trips to Selma, but we have formally invited Ms. Joanne Bland to become a champion with Common Power. Bob Zellner and Pam Zellner are both champions, and they come with us on learning tours. They host us in their home state when we show up there, and then they come out to Seattle for these kinds of cool things. They also spend a lot of time with the next generation of leaders in Action Academy, and they're invaluable because of that. Now we've got Miss Joanne Bland, who we just contracted with, and she's going to be also joining us on some learning tours, hosting us when we're in town, talking to our Action Academy kids, grown adults that are students in college. I'm showing my age here, Maggie. And it's just it's a very rich thing. And it's one thing to talk about history on slides and to analyze it from afar. It's another thing to do it the CP way and bring you to the places where it happened, to introduce you to the people that live that history and to hear it directly from them. And that is a part of what we're starting to call movement learning. And Terry and David came up with the term, but it has always been the way that we learn at CP. It is firsthand knowledge from people who have built movements for the sake of our own participation in the movement that is the fight for voting rights in this country. So Terry's gonna, she's gonna.
She
join
just
you.
arrived. She just
She
arrived.
just arrived.
Good timing, Charles. You can tee her up.
Perfect. So Terry, we have said all of the things that are like specifics about what is going on at each of these dates. All you have to do is talk about how awesome you think these are, why these are going on, who each of these events are for, just to clarify for folks, because there's a lot. This is a big, big month for the Institute. And this is that moment when she's like technically on, but she's like getting her mic ready.
Okay, now you can hear me. So I hate when that happens. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see everyone. So this is great. So we have a number of things that are coming up for the Institute. And really, we were very intentional about making sure that there's something for everyone. And so some of them are fundraising events, and some of them are just free and open to the public. So we'll open the evening first with a community event on June 2nd, actually. So we'll have our community meeting like we have here, and that will be actually part of our launch event. And then and everything else will be in person in Seattle. On Friday, June 3rd, we have the Athletes in Activism. One of the things that we want to do with that, and that is a fundraising event, is to provide a platform for athletes who work in the community to run in contrast to the idea of shut up and dribble that we have heard. And so we're going to bring a number of professional athletes or athletes who work in either our athletes or work in that environment, so that they can talk about how they use their platform, not for athletics, but for community uplift, so that they can inspire others to think about how they use their platform. That, together with all of the other events that we're going to have that weekend, give us a glimpse into the type of programming that we're going to provide in the Institute. Our program in the Institute is going to be expansive. It's going to reflect the needs of society. It is going to shift with the needs that we have in society, with whatever we see is happening in the political arena, with racial injustice. We are going to respond to that to provide an avenue for what we talk about as education to action. We also want for this to be inclusive of people of all ages. And so much of what we do, or at least some of what we do in the Institute, will encourage the involvement of children. And so for our event on Saturday morning, that is a hangout for families, whether they are your children, grandchildren, godchildren, children you mentor. And when I say children, I mean K really through high school. This will be an opportunity for them to meet some of our civil rights heroes and to learn from them and to talk to them and to be inspired by them. And we'll have a similar event for lunch that, again, is open to the public. Both of these are free. So please encourage your friends and others to come and learn from these incredible individuals. They will be inspired and they will learn more about the kinds of things that the Institute is going to do. And then that evening, we'll have a dinner with them that will be a fundraiser, because much of the programming that we have for the Institute will be free. There are many things that we have, for instance, our Scholars in Motion, where we're helping economically marginalized youth who live in housing projects. And so they pay nothing. We sponsor them all the way through helping them getting into college, whether it's SAT prep that is out of reach for so many of these kids, or helping them with college fees. And then on the 17th, Dr. Uhuru Williams is if I showed you his picture, you'd say, yeah, I saw him last night on MSNBC or History Channel, or he is an incredible scholar who really thinks outside the boundaries of I'm seeing some of the comments that are coming in. Yes, I can definitely talk more about the Institute. Thinks outside of the boundaries of the campus. And so he worked with John Lewis. He's a historian. So Dr. Williams is going to talk about, it's not just going to be a traditional lecture, it's going to be a lecture and a conversation. Because with the Institute, that's one of the things we want to have. We want to have an experiential learning when it comes to lecturing. So he'll talk about beyond John Lewis and applying John Lewis's lessons to today. And that's going to be at the beautiful Wow Gallery, just like our first event is in Seattle downtown, the Black female-owned gallery, art gallery. Something more about the Institute, somebody asked. So the Institute is going to support the work of Common Power. We have found that people who have gone through some of our programming are twice as likely or more to be sustained in the work, to continue to do the work that CP does, to encourage a more inclusive democracy. And so the Institute is going to take that to the next level. We're going to have immersive educational experiences, from learning tours to lectures, to conversations across difference, to family voter registration drives to teach children young the importance of being engaged civically. One of the things that we're doing this year, for instance, is going to be an educator learning tour. We already have 16 educators from across the country, teachers who do not have enough money to go on these trips often because teachers are so underpaid. We are providing scholarships to them, and we're taking them on a learning tour through Atlanta and then all over Alabama to teach them about the history of this country. And the only thing that they have to pay back is to create a lesson plan that we will make available through the Institute for free to all teachers from around the world who can access the website. So the Institute is going to be expansive programming, from learning tours to lectures to workshops to voter registration drives, that is going to support the work of CP and encourage people to take their education and turn it into action.
Thank you so much, Terry. And I mentioned at the top of the hour when we started that we were also appreciative of your words in writing in the newsletter that came out of that. It really not only galvanized, I think, the kind of spirit that we entered the space tonight, but we were so appreciative of being able to hear from you in that moment. So thank you for that, and thank you so much for being able to speak to the Institute tonight.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, Charles, I think we've got some time for a Q&A with you. That's on the agenda for tonight. Jamie Lynn, should we come off of the slide deck to open up the space before we come back to the top of the hour? What do you think? Is Charles still on the call?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
good.
I'm totally here. I'm just a little sun lagged.
I know. Yeah, Charles and Maggie and I had a chance to connect today, and on the call, I don't know if you saw this, Charles, but every couple seconds you went bright, like flashed across your face as the sun streamed in. This is an open Q&A, but I think that given the collection of individuals we've got on the call tonight, I mean, Charles, of course, we're so happy to be able to have you to hear from, but I open it up to the collective. You can raise your hand. You can drop something into the chat, whether it's a specific question that Charles can answer or somebody else here on the call. The floor is open to be in community, whether it's around Fieldwork, the Institute, the work that Charles and team are doing down in Arizona at this moment. Happy to field some questions as we move towards the top of the hour. Or we can just have Jessica Wu keep talking, because I could listen to Jessica talk all night. Carrie, is your hand up, or are you saying Jessica?
No, I have a question.
Please, go ahead.
Plus, I like to talk, so, you know. It might be a little early, but I was wondering if anybody, Charles, what you're hearing on the ground, or if any of the other teams are hearing from their partners about the impact of the leak from the Supreme Court about abortion, about how they think that's going to affect their electorates. We're hearing from the wisdoms that, you know, they care a lot and we should give more time and money. So, but I'm wondering if anybody has had, you know, an actual conversation with a partner about this and heard any real thinking on it.
Yeah, I can tell you, being in a place like Arizona where you know, people said that it's, I mean, we're saying things like, hey, it's just making it a state decision. Being in a state where you know what the decision would be if they were given the current state legislature, it definitely hit them differently than maybe folks in Washington State that have a different state ledge. And the partner orgs were, I mean, one foot in front of the other still, for sure. And also you could tell they were affected. And I'll tell you, the other thing that was really clear to all of our volunteers is that as we hit the doors that day, we didn't have to convince anybody. We didn't have to convince anybody, and we didn't have to convince any women that they to sign our card or to take our flyer or to listen to us talk about voting or anything. It was the clearest after that leak that it had ever been anywhere in the field. That is the most clear, direct canvassing experience I've ever had. People were talking about they would get half a sentence out and somebody would snatch the card from them and write down all their information. Or collecting information from people about who they were for and whether they volunteer, and they're writing down all the information about themselves on this card and giving it to us. And folks weren't even hearing us out. They were just like, give me that right away. And one woman took it from me and didn't want to hear anything I had to say, and then knew exactly what it was about. And then my pen wasn't working, and so she went and got her pen, and then she gave me her pen. She's like, you will need this, and goodbye. And that was it. And it was, so yeah, it was perfect in my mind. And folks are definitely, it's being felt here in Arizona.
Where were you in Arizona, Charles?
Phoenix.
Ah.
Phoenix, Arizona, Maricopa County, where it's ground zero for a lot of shenanigans in Arizona.
So,
Yeah.
Charles, what is the situation going to be in Arizona? Do they have a trigger law or an old law on the books, or is it just going to be?
I don't know that. That's a good question. I don't know that.
Wisconsin, just FYI, has an old law from it's like 1849, I can't quite remember, on the books that bans abortion unless the mother's life is in danger. So, I mean, from 1849, they were having these arguments. I read today that Plato had these arguments, Hippocrates had these arguments. So, we're nowhere new, but I'm certainly hoping that it will be a galvanizing force everywhere, but particularly in those states that are going to have their women, where women are going to be in such a horrible position if they happen to want or need an abortion. So I was just wondering if, does anybody else know about our other states?
I did just look up Arizona, that there's not a trigger law in Arizona, but they put it in the probable, like that if depending on the outcome in November, because in the legislature, it's one Republican, they're up one, they have one seat in the House and the Senate in the Arizona legislature. So they think it's probable, if Dems can't flip it, that something would pass to officially, restrict or stop abortions.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tira.
I'm just curious. It just seems to me that the vast majority of volunteers for Common Power are women. And I don't know if that's just who shows up on these calls or whatever, but I don't know. Is that statistically true?
1,000%.
Okay. I mean, it's just, all of us are reeling right now, and we've been reeling forever, and we're going to keep reeling. And I just, I don't know if I have a question so much as just thinking that Common Power just needs to, we just need to figure out as much as we can how to harness all this energy and all this rage and all this determination and get more women in here. And if we can't get the friggin' men to show up, then we need more women to show up and to be mad and to be organized and be effective. The end.
definitely know we are working on that. We want to make sure that with the programming that we offer, with some of the whether it's the lectures, I hate to say it, but the athletes in activism, whatever it is, that it's broadening our circle of volunteers, that we are cognizant of it. And I completely agree with you. And it is something that we are definitely addressing. And thank you to all of you who are here and fighting that fight and volunteering.
I'm curious.
Thanks, Terry. Actually, sorry, Ellen, excuse me. We've got Elizabeth ahead of you, and then we'll get to you. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hi, thanks. I was just going to say, I'm going to find a link. George Carlin. People are sending around a YouTube video of George Carlin from many years ago where he talks about abortion. And it's typical George Carlin. It's really foul. Get ready to clutch your pearls. I mean, he uses all the foul language, and he says some things people might find sacrilegious, but he kind of boils it down to abortion control is just anti-women. But he makes a lot of really good points. And so at the risk of offending anybody, I'll go find the link and put it in here in the chat, and you can watch it if you want. It's very on point. And it helped me a little bit with my rage today. So I will share that.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I don't know how many people on this call watch Veep, but there's been a viral still from that show about if men could get pregnant, you can get an abortion at an ATM.
Exactly.
Ellen, go ahead.
Well, I'm not sure who brought up the issue of the preponderance of volunteers in Femmes de Soutenage in this group. And I'm wondering whether, and I'm glad for the men that are on this call, but I'm wondering whether Common Power, in terms of your knowledge of other activist groups, is it primarily women who are engaged and active, or is it something that's peculiar to Common Power?
I
Go
can
ahead,
say
Terry.
even
Please.
historically, it has been women. When we look at something like the progressive era from the late 1890s through the early 1900s, the vast majority of those who are engaged in reform efforts in the progressive era were women. Doesn't mean there weren't men. There definitely have always been men in these different movements, but in many movements in the past, it has been women, with the exception, I think, of the modern civil rights movement. But yeah, it's not peculiar to Common Power.
On a completely separate note, I would just mention I'm doing some fundraising for the Northwest Abortion Access Fund, and a group of artists have created artist design bookmarks. And if you make a contribution, I'll put my email address in the chat. If you make a contribution to them and you send me a copy of your confirmation and your address, I'll send you a packet of 6 artist design bookmarks. So that's my commercial message for my little fundraising effort that's going on right now.
Thank you, Ellen. Nancy.
I am hoping that a little bit of thought can be given to, I'm sure thought is being given to, and it will probably come up in the training at the end of the month that's trying to engage the 34%. But I think in addition to just engaging that 34%, I hope that some work can go to thinking about how to respond to the portion of that 34% or an even another percentage that is fed up with Democrats who are, and I think this is mostly a younger set that is, pretty far left, and how to, think about addressing their disappointment and frustration that is different than my disappointment and frustration. So just food for thought.
I appreciate that, Nancy. And I think that's one of the reasons that CP's commitment to intergenerational work is so crucial. But I appreciate you raising that. Melissa, last word to you before we wrap.
Thank you. Real quick, the reproductive health care and family planning is a lifelong passion, and would want to encourage folks to. I love that we have someone talking about the abortion fund here in the Pacific Northwest. There's an Indigenous women's fund. Would encourage donations to that. There is a National Association of Abortion Funds. It's you can Google that, and there are about approximately 90 funds across the United States, varying shapes and sizes, needing assistance. I came from Colorado, still am engaged with the abortion fund there. Many of the advocacy organizations that are specific to women's reproductive health care, individuals' reproductive health care, also provide support for travel, hotel, and food. Because if you think about it, many of these people are going to be driving, flying hundreds of miles to get to a clinic, and often will need to stay overnight. So these funds, they work with other kind of program funds to help support that. So I just wanted to give a shout out that along with getting people out to vote, which I'm why I joined Common Power, there's also organizations that can help kind of the tactical issues that are facing people today that are needing access to abortion care, which unfortunately is impacting predominantly BIPOC individuals, low income, and they are struggling to get to a clinic. So my 2 cents, sorry, just had to share.
No, don't apologize. Thank you for that. And I've been seeing the chat providing good links and places that we can visit beyond this particular meeting. Charles, anything you'd like to add before we stop the video and wrap a bit? And if people want to remain and ask some more questions, that's perfectly fine. But I also know people will be moving on to dinner in the Pacific time zone and whatnot. But anything you'd like to say at this point?
No, Anita, you did a wonderful job leading this, and I think, and Terry, your message. I think that there are sometimes when a meeting or an event is just that, and there are other times when we get the right person to do the right job, and the two of you, it's perfect. It's perfect. Thank you for giving us the time and speaking from your heart today and moving us forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Thank you, Charles. And I will say, as we wrap now, I have found, and I know that you all on this call have found it to be the same, that in the moments where it feels like there's too much or you feel powerless, the best thing you can do is to be in service to others and to do it together. And that is what Common Power does. And it has been so evident in this call, all the stories that we've heard, all the passion that comes forward from the volunteers. I know that there are times it feels like that rage can consume us, but it also fuels us and our belief in a more just and inclusive democracy. So thank you for your community tonight. Charles, thank you for your leadership. Maggie and Kylie and Jordan and Jessica and Deborah and Terry, thank you for bringing and Greg, if Greg's still on the call, I'm still thinking about seafood. Thanks for contributing tonight. And Jamie Lynn, thanks for being here too and being so good on the back end. This was seamless. And Paul, thanks for being here. We'll look forward to seeing one another in another Zoom room or in community together on the road in these important races. So thanks for being here. Hope to see folks at the launch of the Institute at the beginning of June, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.